सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं हरिजनासाहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Ashwin, for a nice and wonderful Mangalachara. So today we have among us His Grace Kanchanajba Prabhuji, the great speaker, and very nicely people who they're all the devotees who joined here. They are all enjoying his lecture, the nectar from his mouth. We are so fortunate today. He giving us his precious time. Today we are in chapter Canto 1, chapter 2, and text number 4. It's a very, very nice text. so now over to you, Prabhuji. Please, you can carry on. Please accept our humble obeisances. Maybe Kirtika Mataji will join later. There's some problem in electricity in Kenya. So please, Prabhuji, over to you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mata Prabhu, for speaking so nicely and introducing me so lovingly, as always. I really feel so loved every time you speak. So thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you so much, Sashwin, with so much enthusiasm and determination every single day. At your young age, you are relishing the Srimad Bhagavatam. Such great fortune. You're obviously carrying on from a previous life, and we are very happy to be amongst you, and can only be excited to see who you grow up to be, because this is a very special soul. Thank you, Sashwin. Nice to see you, and nice to hear you chant the Mangala Charan. So here we are. It's our favorite. Verse. We normally chant this before the shloka, before the verse, and today it is the verse. Shaswin, actually last week you chanted this verse very nicely. You want to do it again?
Yes.
Okay, you too. You can chant this Sanskrit.
Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, we cannot hear you.
Is that better?
Yes, now we can hear.
Okay.
Now just like
Hare
that.
Krishna.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry. So yeah, I was just saying thank you to Sachin. This is usually a text that we are chanting before the actual text for the day, but we're so fortunate that this verse is the verse for today. And Sachin, you chanted it very nicely last week. You chanted it very nicely this week, and I'm sure you'll be chanting it every day before the Srimad Bhagavatam class. But today it's the actual verse. So here is our great fortune to be able to discuss this most eloquent verse. Let's see what it means. The translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Should we go straight to the translation, Prabhu, or we should do word for word?
It is better, Prabhu, you can go to the word to word.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. First, Narayanam,
Narayanam,
the personality of Godhead.
the personality of Godhead.
Namakritya,
Namaskritya,
after offering respectful obeisances.
after offering respectful obeisances.
Naram cha eva,
Naram cha eva,
and Narayan Rishi.
and
Narayan.
Narayan.
Nara Uttamam,
Nara,
the supermost human being.
The supermost human being.
Devim,
Devim,
the goddess.
the goddess.
Saraswatim,
Saraswati,
the mistress of learning.
the mistress of learning.
Vyasam,
Vyasam,
Vyasadev.
Vyasadeva,
Tata,
Tata,
thereafter.
thereafter.
Jayam,
Jayam,
all that is meant for conquering.
all that is meant for conquering.
Udirayet,
Udiraye,
be announced.
be announced.
Okay, thank you very much. So here's the translation. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadev, the author. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the Vedic literatures and the Puranas are meant for conquering the darkest region of material existence. The living being is in the state of forgetfulness of his relation with God due to his being overly attracted to material sense gratification from time immemorial. His struggle for existence in the material world is perpetual, and it is not possible for him to get out of it by making plans. If he at all wants to conquer this perpetual struggle for existence, he must re-establish his eternal relation with God. And one who wants to adopt such remedial measures must take shelter of literatures such as the Vedas and Puranas. Foolish people say that the Puranas have no connection with the Vedas. However, the Puranas are supplementary explanations of the Vedas intended for different types of men. All men are not equal. There are men who are conducted by the mode of goodness, others who are under the mode of passion, and others who are under the mode of ignorance. The Puranas are so divided that any class of men can take advantage of them and gradually regain their lost position and get out of the hard struggle for existence. Srila Sutta Goswami shows the way of chanting the Puranas. This may be followed by persons who aspire to be preachers of the Vedic literatures and the Puranas. Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana, and it is especially meant for them who desire to get out of the material entanglement permanently. Jay, thank you very much. So that's the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So here this verse describes that we cannot really approach the Srimad Bhagavatam unless we have the blessings of the superior beings. And here the translation, this is Sutta Goswami speaking, saying that, okay, before reciting the Bhagavatam, yes, let's pay obeisances to the Supreme Lord, to Narayan Rishi, to Mother Saraswati, to Vyasadeva. So this is the mood. This is the mood of understanding Krishna. Prabhupada speaks about this emphatically time and time again. I was hearing a lecture this morning, and Srila Prabhupada was saying that those of us that try to jump Guru and get to Krishna, it's nonsense. So we must, Prabhupada makes it very clear, first Guru, then Krishna. So this is the thing, that only by the blessings of the spiritual master, by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, can we come to an understanding of Krishna. Because if we don't have the blessings of a bona fide Guru, of a bona fide spiritual master, Prabhupada says of a Paramahamsa, we don't have the blessings of a pure soul, a self-realized pure soul, then ultimately we will not get the benefit of real spiritual life. What would happen is, if you have a guru, it's like if you have a guru without Krishna, then you become like a Mayavadi. You just want to become God. Or if you have Krishna without a guru, then what happens? We become very sentimental, and we don't really know how to practice bhakti yoga. And very sentimentally, we would ritualistically do whatever we think is best. But it has to be both. There has to be intelligence and there has to be the heart. Yes, we want to be practicing devotional service. It's a matter of the heart. But with our intelligence, we must follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures. It's a fine line. We follow Niyamagra. We want to follow the rules and regulations of the scriptures, and at the same time not get too obsessed with the rules that we forget about the reason we're following those rules. We can give you an example. If we're so fixed on a particular rule, let's say, for example, actually, maybe I'll ask one of you, what is one of the rules and regulations of devotional service that we follow? Let's have a little discussion here. Anyone want to say one of the rules and regulations that we follow?
Yes, please, can I say?
Yes, please, Panchali Mataji.
No meat eating.
No meat eating, very good. Okay, so this is one, thank you very much. So this is one rule that we follow. Now, it's important that we understand why we follow this rule. If we don't understand why we follow this rule, then what can happen? We become fanatic about no meat eating. No meat eating, no meat, don't eat meat, don't eat meat, I don't eat meat, I don't eat meat. And what can happen is, in one sense, if like in London right now, there's a big wave of veganism. In England, there's a big, actually around Europe, everywhere actually, there's this big vegan campaign, which is great in one sense, is brilliant because more people are stopping to eat meat. However, if we become overrun by just this one rule and we forget that the reason we don't eat meat is out of compassion, it's out of non-violence, because it's pleasing to Krishna, all living entities come from Krishna, we don't want to cause pain to Krishna's animals, then what will happen is we can become so obsessed with the rule that we can forget about the reason we're following the rule. So that's one aspect of it. We want to make sure that we're following rules and regulations, but always remembering the purpose why we're following the rules. And the other thing that's also important is to actually follow the rules and not just think, it's okay, Krishna's in my heart, and because Krishna's in my heart, I'll just do what I want. And the reason that's not good for us is because then what can happen, we can become very lazy and complacent in our spiritual life, and we'll feel it because we'll end up with a disturbed mind. because Krishna is giving us the process of how we can become purified. And if we don't follow, then our mind will become very, very disturbed. So it's important, if we have to pay obeisances to the Lord, we should offer our obeisances. If we're offering prasadam, we should offer prasadam with the required prayers that have been given to us to offer prasadam. All these different rules and regulations that have been given to us is so that our heart becomes purified. And by following the rules and regulations of the scriptures with that purified heart, what will happen is that we will become spontaneously attracted to Krishna. We will lovingly, spontaneously become attracted to Krishna. So we become attracted to Krishna through the mercy of the Guru, through the mercy of the spiritual master. So we are not going to try, and like what Prabhupada says, we're not going to try and jump the Guru. We are going to worship the Guru so that we can get to Krishna. Otherwise, what happens is, like we said, we just don't reach the essence. You know, after so many years, so many lifetimes, we've come to this process of Krishna consciousness. If we count our good fortune, in one sense, what we can see is that coming into Krishna consciousness is a big blessing. And yes, we should count our blessings. We should be grateful. But as well as counting our blessings, we should make the blessings count. And how to make the blessings count? We need to act on the blessings. One wonderful example of this is Sanjaya. So Sanjaya, who's Sanjaya? Let's keep it interactive. Who is Sanjaya?
The Secretary of Dhritarashtra.
Thank you, Partha Prabhu. Sanjaya is the Secretary of Dhritarashtra. Good, thank you so much, Prabhu. And would anyone like to share what is Sanjaya doing during at the beginning of the Kurukshetra war? Or during the Kurukshetra? Yes, Panchali?
So he could see the war despite not being at Kurukshetra. So he was telling Dhritarashtra what was happening at the war, because Dhritarashtra was blind. So he was given the boon by Vyasdeva to be able to see what was happening at Kurukshetra.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Panchali. Yes, so Sanjaya was given a boon by Vyasadeva. By the mercy of Vyasadeva, he could see what was happening in Kurukshetra. So he can see. So he thanked, he said, but he was telling Krishna, he was telling Dhritarashtra, by the mercy of Vyas, I got to witness this most wonderful conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. He was thanking his spiritual master. He didn't just say, oh, Krishna. He recognized his spiritual master, and by recognizing his spiritual master, he was thanking his spiritual master that he could see Krishna, he could understand Krishna. And yes, Kirtika Mataji, thank you for the message. He was the TV for Dhritarashtra. Yes, he was Dhritarashtra's TV. He was telling Dhritarashtra what was going on. But this was a very special kind of TV, because in this TV, this Sanjaya, by the time he hears this wonderful conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, he almost lost himself. He forgot who he was in this material world. How did he forget who he was in this material world? Because he was telling his boss, he was telling his superior, he was telling the king that this conversation is adbhutam, it is wonderful. Roma Harshanam, I'm feeling ecstatic. I've heard this param guyam, I've heard this most confidential conversation between Krishna and Arjuna. He told Dhritarashtra that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, there will always be victory, opulence, morality. He told Dhritarashtra that there is no chance you're going to win. He told Dhritarashtra. He couldn't help himself. Why? Because he was so ecstatic. Why? And how did he become so absorbed in Krishna? How did he become so ecstatically emulsified with all this love for Krishna? Because he was grateful to his spiritual master. He was grateful to the spiritual masters, we can say. And this is what the mood we should be grateful to the gurus who have given us Krishna. We have many gurus that give us Krishna. There's Diksha Guru and many Shiksha Gurus, and all our gurus that give us Krishna. If we are grateful to them, so we feel grateful and we act grateful. So feeling grateful is counting our blessings. I'm so fortunate. I'm just so fortunate. Really appreciating how fortunate we are that we've been given this opportunity in life to be part of a Srila Prabhupada's movement, and then acting gratefully, which is what Sanjaya did. Sanjaya became absorbed in remembering Krishna. Sanjaya became absorbed in remembering Krishna because at the end he just totally lost himself. So we can also become absorbed in remembering Krishna, totally absorbed in remembering Krishna. And how can we act grateful? We act grateful by serving the Vaishnavas. And serving the Vaishnavas means, it doesn't mean much more actually than them being happy with our service. The smile of a Vaishnava, the Vaishnava becoming pleased, the Vaishnava's life becoming, you're making the life simpler for the devotees by maybe taking something from their plate to help them in their other services. Just being beneficial, being available, using our skills in serving the Vaishnavas. By doing all these things, we can get the Vaishnava's mercy, and then Krishna's mercy follows very, very quickly. It's just there, it's available through the mercy of the devotees. And here we can see in this verse that Sutta Goswami is saying that he's also offering his obeisances to his superiors, the Lord and his superiors, because through the Lord and through the superiors of the Lord, we are getting so much. So we don't want Guru without Krishna. We don't want Krishna without the Guru. We want both. We want the combination. And what did Sanjaya do? Sanjaya heard Bhagavad Gita. Sanjaya repeated Bhagavad Gita. And Sanjaya contemplated Bhagavad Gita. He did these three things. He heard, he read. So he heard and read, if you like. He heard, reading and hearing. So when we say hearing, reading is also another form of hearing. So reading or hearing, then repeating, and most importantly, contemplating. Because when we read and we hear, well, this is Shravanam. When we repeat, this is Kirtanam. And when we contemplate, this is Smaranam. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, we're doing this through, and this is what Sanjaya did. And we can see the result for Sanjaya. Sanjaya is in total ecstasy. He's on the other side. He's on the Kaurava side. He's in total ecstasy. Total ecstasy because he became so enriched by the conversation. So we can see actually, just using this example of Sanjaya, that by contemplating and repeating the knowledge of the Shastra, we can become transformed. And this is what happened to Sanjaya. We become transformed by hearing, repeating, and contemplating the messages of the Shastra. And and this is what Sutta Goswami is doing. He's heard the Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. And now he's in Naimisharanya, and he's going to get to repeat it and contemplate and repeat it all to the sages in Naimisharanya. So what happens? It just transforms our life when we are given the opportunity to share Krishna consciousness. Because when we're sharing Krishna consciousness, we have to think, how will it be relevant to those that are hearing? How can those that are hearing what I'm saying, how can it benefit them? And what happens when we think like this? Krishna reciprocates and gives us realization of how we can practice Krishna consciousness ourselves in a deeper and more meaningful way. This process is one of reciprocation. It's a process of reciprocation. So it's that famous saying we heard when we first joined, every petition 10 towards us or 100 towards us. So it's not a matter of numbers. It's not a numerical thing. It's not a business deal. Oh, Krishna, I took 3 steps today. You've only taken 29. You haven't taken your 30th step. It's not a business deal. Krishna's always taking steps towards us. The more we take towards him, the quicker the mercy comes. So the lesson to learn is, so like here, Sutta Goswami, he's speaking to all the sages. Shukadev Goswami, when he spoke, there was a big assembly. Some will become transformed. Those that are hearing, some of them will become transformed and some of them will not. But the result is not in our hands. We just do our duty of sharing the message of the scriptures. Like Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita towards the end, he says, there's no one more dear to me than he who shares the supreme secret with the devotees. No one is more dear to me than he. No one. No one is more dear to me than he who shares the supreme secret. And we can see Sanjaya is such a brilliant example because he shares the message, he becomes transformed. Did Dhritarashtra become transformed by that conversation? No, because Dhritarashtra was too attached. Because of his attachments, Dhritarashtra didn't become transformed by the message of the Gita. Dhritarashtra was still worried about winning the war. Dhritarashtra was too concerned about Duryodhana. However, the fact that Dhritarashtra didn't become transformed doesn't matter in the sense for Sanjaya, because Sanjaya did his bit. So we just do our bit. We may have some family members, we may have some friends, and we may be thinking, what's the point of preaching to them? Nothing's going to happen. But actually, we can see by trying to preach to them, we can become transformed. It's just a matter of intelligently preaching. And intelligently preaching means preach in a way that they don't know you're preaching. Preach in a way that they don't know you're preaching, but share Krishna consciousness. Because we are in this business of giving love and receiving love. And giving love and receiving love comes through the acts of service. When we do small acts of service, we build relationships with others. We can give Krishna, because actually everyone is looking for Krishna. They just don't know they're looking for Krishna. How is everyone looking for Krishna? Because Krishna is Satchitananda Vigraha. Krishna is full of bliss. And because Krishna is full of bliss, we are in this material world as lost souls looking for bliss, looking for happiness. And when we try to find the bliss in Krishna consciousness, we actually experience it like Sanjaya did, like Arjuna did, like the sages did. But we can only go as far as we are receiving. So we hear with rapt attention, we scrutinizingly study, and we repeat, and we contemplate. What is Sanjaya saying right at the end of the Gita? He's saying that by thinking of this wonderful form of Krishna, I'm becoming ecstatic, because he's contemplating on Krishna. And the more we try to understand Krishna, the fresher, the newer the relationship seems to be. We were just discussing yesterday with some devotees that, isn't it amazing how in this material world, once we've done something, we've completed one certain thrill in life, we then need to move on to another. Oh yes, I climbed this mountain, tick. Now I dived in this ocean, tick. I went to this football match, tick. I did this, tick. I flew on Concorde, tick. I went on a hot air balloon, tick. I went to Masai Mara, tick. You know, I saw the kill, tick. You know, it's like all these things, all these different things. We're looking for this, looking for that, looking for this, looking for a new thrill in the material world. And with spiritual life, we can do the same thing every day. You wake up, you rise early, we go for Mangalarti, you sing the same prayers, it's the same obeisances, everything in one sense is the same. But because Krishna is ever fresh, that relationship is always dynamic. And even though it's the same prayers, your relationship with Krishna every single day is different because it's a relationship. So it's amazing how in spiritual life we follow these rules and regulations and feel more enlivened in doing the same thing than in the material world when people are experiencing so many different types of activity, experiencing so many different types of thrills in this material world, but still sochati and kankshati, hankering and lamentation. So here, what we can see is Sutta Goswami totally absorbed in what he heard from Shukadev Goswami. So happy that he was in that gathering where he heard the teachings to Parikshit Maharaj, and now his opportunity to repeat it to Shonaka Rishi and all the assembled sages in Naimisharanya. And ultimately, like we can see here, understanding that nothing comes without the mercy of the Guru. Nothing comes without the mercy of our Gurus, our spiritual masters. And we shouldn't try to jump. We shouldn't try to jump the Guru to get to Krishna. This is not the right mood. This is not the right attitude. The mood is always feel grateful and act grateful. Feel grateful, act grateful. How do we act grateful? We serve. We serve the Vaishnavas. We become, and through this service, then what will happen? Jubilation will come, just like it did for Sanjaya. We'll become spiritually happy. Spiritually happy doesn't mean we're going to laugh like a comedian all the time. We see many pictures, many videos of Prabhupada, very grave, but this gravity is spiritual contentment. And this gravity is actually our deep contentment in Krishna consciousness, our deep contentment in a relationship with Krishna. So applying the teachings of the Shastra, Prabhupada explains in this class that I was hearing today, we follow the description of the prescription of the Shastra. And when we follow the description of the prescription in the Shastra, Prabhupada explains that all of these desires to enjoy in this material world, they will slowly go away. Just by following the description of the prescription in the Shastra. So our goal is inner purity. This is our goal. Inner purity, not external popularity, it's inner purity. It's a very, very important understanding. Our goal is not that we want to focus on how popular we've become. Oh yes, I know this devotee now. Oh yes, now me and this such and such are, that's not the goal. Because if we're focused too much on the external, when Krishna wants to send us that internal joy in the heart, we won't be there because we won't be tuned in. So we want to be tuned in. We want to be very introspective as to what's happening and what's going on. And if we become very introspective as to what's happening around us, what's the situation around me? What is the situation around me? Who right now is testing me in a certain way? Who right now is giving me access to mercy of Krishna? Who is Krishna sending to me right now as association that is going to uplift me? Who is Krishna sending me right now of association which I need to try and stay distant from? Which doors is Krishna shutting? Which doors is Krishna opening? We have to always be in tune as to what is Krishna doing for me right now? What is happening? And if we become in tune with what's happening and introspect and take and get guidance from our gurus, may not be possible with Diksha Guru, but definitely we should have some Shiksha Gurus that we are getting some guidance from that can open our eyes, open our hearts, and help us intelligently and devotionally understand how to get closer to Krishna, how to overcome these obstacles in the material world, how to deal with this material energy. Material, Maya for a devotee is, Maya for a non-devotee is a stumbling block. Is a stumbling block to advancement in Krishna consciousness. But Maya, the material energy for a devotee, is a stepping stone, because we overcome these obstacles through the mercy of the Vaishnavas, through the mercy of our gurus, and respectfully appreciating them. And sometimes appreciation can be with kind words, but always have appreciation for the devotees. Always have appreciation for the devotees and try our best not to hold grudges, not to hold resentment, and be a well-wisher to all. Srila Prabhupada always signed his letters, "Your ever well-wisher, your ever well-wisher." So if we are always a well-wisher, even if someone has upset us, even if someone has hurt us, you know, it's not up to us to police them. They'll get policed through higher powers. We can be their well-wisher, because by getting into that mood of loving others, being their well-wisher, we make rapid spiritual advancement. So let's take advantage of what Srila Prabhupada has given us by respectfully appreciating Prabhupada, appreciating all the Vaishnavas, appreciating all the gurus who have helped us, who are helping us, and understand that if I was getting no help, if I was getting no association, where would I be? Where would I be? We are made of the mercy of the Vaishnavas. And by having that deep gratitude within our heart, we can give that mercy to others around us who are also looking for guidance in their spiritual life. So we'll stop here. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and we can now open up to anyone who'd like to ask anything or share any reflections. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Very nice, short and sober, simple explanation how we're supposed to be thankful to our Guru Parampara, and not supposed to be jumped towards Krishna, but we're supposed to be serve the Guru, Vaishnava, and others for our devotional service. It's a very nice and interesting way. So we open this forum for the question answer and your realization. Please, any question or any comments, please you can ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.
I wanted to share something, one shloka that was shared to me. It actually translates to, those who are my direct devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my servant are factually my devotees. Hare Krishna.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, this is the mood. This is the mood, and this is the mood of the Supreme Lord, who really loves his devotees. And we can see, thank you so much for sharing, Mataji. We can see that, aren't we the same? Aren't we the same? That if we have children, those of us who have children, I have two young girls, anyone who wants to please me, I'll be like, okay, thank you. I'll be happy or grateful. And sometimes I have this with some devotees who I mentor. What they've been doing recently is they've been giving lots of, spending time with my children, giving gifts to my children, and so much more, my heart becomes melted. Why? Because they're doing something for my children. So imagine how this is, and I was thinking, oh, this is how Krishna's feeling, isn't he? That when someone is doing something for him, yes, he's pleased. But when someone is doing something for his devotees, he's even more pleased. Just like we are so happy. When someone makes your child happy, you become happy. When someone gives a gift to your child, you think, oh, they're so nice, they're looking after my child in this way. So Krishna is also in the same way so in love with his devotees that if we serve his devotees, he becomes extra merciful to us. And that means he also sees that we understand the concept of serving the Vaishnavas. So thank you so much, Mataji. Very important verse you shared with us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. Very nice thing. Any other question or comment, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking about this, the discussion what we had regarding the sloka on the Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna says that whoever preaches this message of Bhagavad Gita to others is very dear to me. And in some other place, it's also said should not be discussed to, the glories of the name should not be discussed to with the non-devotees or envious people. So, like in a practical sense, how should one differentiate, or how should one take call, like whom to preach or whom not to preach? That's my question, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Ayagovinda Prabhu. Very nice question. Who to preach and who not to preach? Yes, because one of the offenses, the ninth offense is not to preach to a faithless person. So how do we reconcile that with Krishna saying that if you preach, you're so dear to me? So how to reconcile this? We reconcile this by finding, so there are devotees, there are we can say the atheists who are totally against, and then those in the middle, the innocents, who are open-minded, who are favorable, whose mind can be twisted. These are the ones that we want to preach. So we want to share the supreme secret, like Krishna says, to the devotees, which is the ones who are practicing Krishna consciousness, and also to those who are innocent, those who are favorable. And that we have to use our intelligence. How to use our intelligence? If the person we are preaching to is going to become offensive, then it's better not to. Why? Because out of love for that person, we understand that their offense is going to make them, it's going to cause them spiritual degradement. If I'm a little bit willing to hear, a little bit willing to listen. Is my connection okay? Can you hear me?
It was broken slightly, but it is now okay.
It's back now. Okay, thank you. So yeah, if someone is innocent, if someone is willing to hear, then yes, yes, these are the people we want to preach to. And I think with the bit that may have been cut out is if someone is going to be offensive, because of what we have shared with them, then for their own benefit, maybe those people we shouldn't share with, because they'll just become offensive and say things that are very offensive and rude. But sometimes we notice that time plays a big part. So I have a friend who, if I would share anything with, he would become a bit offensive, be a bit, blasé about things. One of my old school friends. And then recently he lost his father, a family member, and he's more open now to hearing. And it's like, okay, now I can share because he's more open, he's innocent, he's seeing things in a different way. And it's the time to share. So sometimes time, we have to see time, place, and circumstance. Main thing is intelligently understand. If they're going to be offensive, give them prasadam, still try and give them Krishna consciousness. Another way we can preach to those that are generally offensive is just by being kind to them. We don't have to necessarily preach the mission, but by being kind, they will think, oh, this Hare Krishna devotee is so nice. This Hare Krishna devotee is so kind. And by them feeling like that, they get a Gyata Sukriti, because they've appreciated a Vaishnava. And when they appreciate a Vaishnava, their spiritual credits go up, so that they are more ripe and ready to take Krishna consciousness later on. So there are different things, different thoughts on who to preach and who not to preach. I hope that's okay. I hope it made some sense. Hare Govinda Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji spoke something some minutes ago. I didn't understand what she was saying and what she meant. Eldoret ISKCON, Mataji.
She was saying that the verse from the Bhagavatam, which is that when the Lord says that when we serve him directly, we're not his devotees, but when we serve his devotees, we are his devotees. So the key message is to become a servant of the servant, become Das Anudas.
Oh, I got it now, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pramila Mataji.
Prabhuji, in this sloka, importance is given to Saraswati, the goddess of learning. But this is a little conflicting because no other demigods are mentioned or given as much importance as her before we even read the Bhagavatam or open it. Her name is mentioned to pray to her for her blessings. Can you please help me with that?
Yeah, with my limited understanding on this, Pramila Mataji, what I would say is that because she's the god, like you said, she's the goddess of learning, and we want as much help as we can get to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. And because we want as much help as we can get to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam, Saraswati, who's the goddess of learning, can help us learn about Krishna. So what we're doing here is respecting who is in charge of learning and trying to use that in a spiritual way, trying to use her mercy, get her mercy so that it can be used in a spiritual way to understand, so that ultimately what we're doing is basically saying that yes, there's Mother Saraswati who helps us learn. And there's so many things to learn, isn't there? We need to learn 1 + 1. We need to learn language. We need to learn so many different things in this material world. But what we want to do is learn. Well, the most important thing to learn is to learn how to love Krishna. And if we respect Mother Saraswati, that she can help us use our intelligence, use our learning, our powers of learning in a spiritual way, then we can become spiritually nourished. Hope that makes sense, Pramila Mataji.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anyone else like to share anything on today's verse? Okay. Thank you all so much. Hare Krishna. Patram.
Is there any other question or comment, please? We have enough time. Prabhuji is very punctual in time and very nice and sweet class. Is there any other question, please? Or any doubt? Okay. All are adjusted, Prabhu. And this is a very nice verse. Maybe many people know that one. And every day in Bhagavatam class, we read this one. The main thing is that already Prabhuji mentioned our humility, our surrendership to the Vaishnava, Guru, Parampara, and everything. It not means say we know many things. We're supposed to be jumped to teach Krishna consciousness or preaching in Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. But we're supposed to be follow the principle and follow the steps of our great Acharya, like Sukadeva Goswami. He prayed everyone, Narayan, Narayana Rishi, and also, like it's already told, Devi Saraswati, Vyasdev, everyone. So this is the humility. So that we can enlighten and we can able to speak something, so that our disciplic succession, we are giving the importance, and so that we can getting the proper knowledge by this through. And we're supposed to be follow all the time. So we're not supposed to be over jumped. Oh, I am so learned, I am a scholar, I am a PhD, or I learned in Sanskrit, I know Bhagavad Gita, whatever we would know. But we're supposed to be follow the disciplic successor. And in this Krishna consciousness, this is a charm that we're not supposed to ignore anyone. Even our spiritual progress, if somebody is even one day also in food, we also thanks to him. And we're supposed to be known for him, like we get and we can know something from him, Krishna consciousness or our spiritual progress. Like just one thing, I just a vehicle in this thing. When I was in secondary school, we have a poem like a Abadhuta have 24 guru. Abadhuta, many people maybe knows, who is liberated. He adopted 24 guru. It means how he submissive. Even he guru is the bee, is a dog, prostitute, and river, sun, flower, so many things we cannot accept. Oh, how is he going to guru? But he can know how he learned from him. So this is the charm of the Krishna consciousness. And we, as much as we are so humble, the Krishna consciousness, the spiritual knowledge is coming to more and more and more. And as much as we are proud and puffed up, it is going away from us. So this is the thing. Although Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami is so capable, he can learn, he can teach all the Naimisharan, all the sages, but he offers his respectful obeisances everyone. So this is our thing. And maybe sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, we have also mistake and offense on our devotees and senior devotees, senior or junior, it's not matter. The devotees also. But this is also not good for us or our spiritual progress. So this is the thing also. So Prabhuji, if your permission, then I'm just giving an incident of the Vrindavan, if it is permitted by you. Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. So the thing is that it is very known in Sada Goswami when they were in Vrindavan. What happened once in a day, like I just Sanatana Goswami, like Rupa Goswami or Rupa Goswami, because he's the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami. When he was meditated, he just meditated and he saw, because he visualized everything, he saw that Krishna pulled a branch of a tree in Golok Vrindavan and Radharani plucked some flowers. At the meantime, Krishna left the branches, then it is going off. Then Radharani is so upset that is going on. And sometimes Radharani is just hold the branches in the left hand and pluck the flower, and Krishna help. And in the meantime, when he left the branches, the Radharani going off. So that is a very this is a very interesting picture, and he visualized in Rupa Goswami visualized, and he laughed. He laughed because this is a very he realized it, or he is in the Vrindavan and he realized this thing. But at the same time, in Vrindavan, there is a sadhu he passed by. And when he passed by, then he thought maybe Rupa Goswami is laughing me because I am is a physical challenge. He's not walking proper. His one leg is broken. So maybe he's laughing. And then he thinks that, oh, what shall I do? He just consider himself. He is criticizing me. He's just because of my physical challenge, so that he is laughing onto me. But the laughing is somewhere else. He is in the Golok Vrindavan picture is going on. But that is happened by unknowingly, and is not the laughing is not for him, that sadhu. But since that Goswami have no attachment of his in japa, meditation, chanting, and nothing else, then he feeling agitated. What is happened? Why it is happening like that? Why I'm not getting so much interest? I'm not connected to the Krishna. What happened? Then he come to the Sanatana Goswami and ask the remedy. Then he told, maybe you are doing some mistake on the Vaishnava. But I didn't do anything because you the Paramahansa state. No, you are supposed to do. Otherwise, it not be happened. You see how they are elevated. They are the Goswami. And but what's supposed to do? There is a remedy that you can call all the Vaishnava in the Vrindavan and beg their mercy. You commit your mistake, whatever it may be. Then we invite them for the Priti was the feast. Then he invited, and all the sages are come. Oh, Rupa Goswami invited us, so that they come. But after that also they take prasad. Then they tell me, no, how can Rupa Goswami committed offense to anyone? It is impossible. Everybody is telling. Again, all the same thing is going on. Then he came into again to the Sanatana Goswami, what you supposed to do? Then he telling, you can just find out who is not coming for the feast. Then they think, they are searching. Then one of the saints is not so elevated, but he not came. Then Sanatana Goswami suggested, you can go him and beg your mercy, and you please him and invited him. And if he is giving his mercy, forgive you, then you will get your test again, the Harinam test. Then, according to the suggestion of the Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami went to him. Then, by folded handed, he's doing the Dandot Pranam, and he requested him to come to him, and he's telling this thing happened. But that was not meant for him. That was in the Golok Vrindavan situation, how he laughing, because he see the pastimes of Radha and Krishna, how they're enjoying. But this thing is that the point, then when the sages came, then forgive him. So that again, Rupa Goswami enjoyed the taste of chanting, reading, and doing the devotional service. The point is that how a small mistake of a Vaishnava is so great and it is so destroy our all sadhana. This is the thing. If it is happened in Rupa Goswami, then who are we? So we have no chance. So we're supposed to be very careful so that we will progress in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me this permission.
Thank you. Such a beautiful story. Thank you so much. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji, there seems to be a question from Panchali Mataji. She's raised her hand before we end.
Please ask.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. I'm not sure if there's time. Is it okay for me to kick off the session? Actually, not the time.
We can't hear you, Mataji. We can't hear you, please.
Okay. Can you hear me better?
Slightly better.
Hello?
Yeah, got.
Okay, sorry, I'm not sure. So my question is on Guru. So when we are chanting Abhijit, so is it better to actually visualize our Guruji rather than Krishna? Or is it better to visualize Mahaprabhu because he came in form of a devotee rather than Krishna? And will that please Krishna more whilst chanting?
I think I heard the question. Is it better to meditate on the Guru while we're chanting? Is that what your question was?
Yes, Prabhuji, yeah.
I think we can do this simultaneously, Guru and Krishna, because we need the mercy of Guru and Krishna for our Bhakti Lata Beach. And ultimately we should understand the Guru is there to give us Krishna, and we can't get Krishna without the Guru. So we don't want Guru without Krishna, and we don't want Krishna without the Guru. And ultimately, when it comes to who we should meditate on, this also comes to personal taste. You know, like some people like picture of Krishna with Radharani, some people like picture of Krishna with a cow. But wherever we're attracted, wherever we're feeling that loving feeling, the devotional feelings towards Krishna, this is where we should focus, because that's where our heart will melt more and more through the holy name.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Vishakha Mataji?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I just wanted to ask you, this is regarding offending another Vaishnava. Sometimes you come across a situation whereby you're trying to sort of help that Vaishnava because you've been delegated that service to help. But somehow the Vaishnava, the opposite Vaishnava does not understand and starts to be offended. What do you do? What do you do in that situation? Because with me, it bothers me, because I do not want to hurt anybody or, like upset anybody, but it's just you're helpless. The situation is such that, the opposite Vaishnava is just upset because maybe something was there from past and was coming, and he was upset for some other reason, but they are upset in front of you. But my worry is I do not want to, upset any Vaishnava. How do I resolve that? I am sorry. I hope you understand what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vishaka Mataji. I think we're in this process of practicing Krishna consciousness, and we're trying to get to a place where we're living a life generally of being very selfish. Everything's for me, and then we come to Krishna consciousness and understand everything needs to be selfless, everything needs to be for Krishna, everything needs to be for the devotees. And then what happens is and in order to go from selfish to selfless, we practice devotional service so that we can ultimately become selfless devotional servants of Krishna. And in that time, we have to serve with other devotees, like you mentioned there, Vishaka Mataji. What I would say is, in order to get to a place of selfless devotional service, rather than looking at them and their past, and yes, it's true, generally speaking, we may just be triggers, that we may have said something and they got offended because of something in their own past that we have just triggered. We have just said something small, but because of something that happened in their past, they've taken it much more offensively. It meant so much more, and then the offense came towards us. So what's really important in devotional relationships and devotional friendships is to become sensitive. The key thing is to become very, very sensitive. And what does it mean to become sensitive? Try and understand the person we're serving with. Some devotees can take jokes, some devotees cannot take jokes. Some devotees, you can say certain things, some devotees, you can't say certain things because of their past triggers. And the more we become sensitive, the more we try and work around the devotees and their nature, the more in tune we become with the Vaishnavas, then the less offensive will become, and Krishna will guide us and help us from within. The key thing is not to become complacent and think, oh, I didn't mean it like that. They're just too sensitive. They just get upset for no reason. They shouldn't. No, yes, maybe that's true, but we can't control the other person. But what we can do is make sure from our side, we have tried everything to make sure we have been very, very careful from our side, sensitive to what they can like, don't like, the jokes they can take. If you know a bit about their past, let's say you know that they've come from a family where they had a very broken family, then maybe we're not going to say things about such topics because that might be a sensitive issue. So we have to be careful. And as long as we're trying our best, Krishna will do the rest. But if we're not trying our best, and if we're becoming too complacent, then sometimes we can end up being offensive. So, and then like Partha Prem Prabhu says, if it does so happen that we become offensive, then we can beg forgiveness. And the second thing, we beg forgiveness, and also we just try and please the Vaishnava, go out of our way to render service and make them happy, fix their wrongdoing by trying to please them and serve them. It's like if someone stole my phone and one day came up to me and said, Prabhuji, I beg forgiveness, I stole your phone. And I'll be like, okay, no problem. A Vaishnava is kind, but okay, no problem. I'll try. In my heart, I might be still upset, but I might try and forgive them. But what would really, really make me happy is if you replaced my phone. It's like, okay, you did the mistake and now you replaced, and then, oh, wow, amazing. You plead that. I'll be, it's not just forgiveness. You try to do something to undo the wrongdoing. And that is actually how we can overcome the two things together, beg forgiveness and try to undo the wrongdoing. Then we can actually overcome this offensive nature. So there's a few thoughts, Vishaka Mataji. I hope that makes some sense. Did that make some sense? Is that okay?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it's quite complicated, but never mind. It did. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Partha Prem Prabhu, if you'd like to add anything, because you gave that such a wonderful story. It'd be nice if you would like to add something.
It's okay, Prabhuji. You are right. Absolutely. We'll try our best not to be do. But if something is happened, and the thing is that if you are supposed to be delegated that sabha for you, and it is for Krishna, for the higher purpose. And somebody is interrupt this one, and somebody is hurt you, or he may be upset for you. That is not the matter, because you are doing for the greater vision, greater aim to serve Krishna in a better way. So that is not the matter. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So also thanks all the devotees. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra for a glorification of His grace, Kanchanajba Prabhuji. Please join. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare
Hare Sanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namo Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Kanchanajba Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Son Eldoret ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.